Welcome back one final time to this Mood of the Nation, the India Today poll brought to you by Karvi Research. They've done the polling. And in this final segment, we are going to look at the role of the opposition because we focused a lot on how people perceive the Modi government's performance. But what about its perception of the opposition, especially the principal opposition party, the Congress?
Okay, so let's take question number one. How do people perceive the functioning of the opposition during the COVID pandemic? About half the respondents, Rajdeep, are saying that the opposition was criticizing the government for the sake of criticism. 38% say it was constructive criticism, but half the respondents say, naam ke vaste, because they had to do something, so they were criticizing the government.
And remember, this is a party which has got about 20% of the vote in recent elections, in the recent Lok Sabha elections. So clearly, the Congress party has yet to sort of punch above its weight in the truest sense, and that will show in these numbers, because when we look at the Congress's role as opposition party, how is it perceived? Outstanding say 9, good say 32%, so that's 41% seem to give a positive rating. Average is 32%, poor is 16, and 6 is very poor. So the Congress is finding itself in a very middling position in most of our questions. Sonia Gandhi's performance as Congress president, remember, interim Congress president, but we are now told after a CWC that was held on Friday that the Congress has deferred the decision of a new president till June, till after the next round of elections. Outstanding 9%, good 33%, average 31%, poor 16, very poor 7%. So the Congress finds itself in a middling position on most of these data points. Let's bring in Supriya Srinath, who's still here with us, the Congress spokesperson. Supriya Srinath, you know, for example, the role of opposition during the pandemic. There's a sense that a number of people are giving that it was criticism for the sake of criticism. That's at least what half the voters think. So the Congress has not been able to energize people, even though possibly the situation is such that you could capitalize on the weaknesses of the Modi government.
You know, even if I were to go with the numbers that you are presenting, Rajdeep and Rahul, 49% believe that we were criticizing for the sake of it because we're the opposition, but there are good 38% who believe this was constructive criticism. I'm even going with the numbers that you are presenting, even though I may wholeheartedly not endorse them. If as an opposition party during a pandemic like this, we are going to expose the mismanagement, the crisis, what all the government did wrong, the PPE scams that happened, you know, the 21-day war that was never won. We climbed to number 2 as far as infections are concerned. We lost 2 lakh people to COVID. The migrant labor in this country walked for kilometers at end with the Solicitor General of this government lying before the Supreme Court and sworn affidavit. What do you expect the opposition to do?
Okay.
Tom with the government of the day and clap for them? Obviously, we will question them, and obviously we will take them to task.
Let's come to that one question which has been engaging the entire Congress party, a large part of our country, and also the Congress Working Committee, the question of who's best suited to revive the Congress party. And here, surprise of surprises, Manmohan Singh, despite his age, despite the fact that he's no longer in active politics, comes out on top with 16% saying Manmohan Singh is best suited to revive the Congress. 15% say it's Rahul Gandhi, but Sachin Pilot has made a mark for himself, emerging above anyone, the likes of an Amrinder Singh or a Kamal Nath or even an Ashok Gehlot, on a national poll, emerging as the one non-Gandhi member most likely to revive the Congress. And then there is Priyanka Gandhi at 10. Now this is a very substantive finding, that you've got Manmohan Singh, of all people, the former Prime Minister, ahead of Rahul Gandhi, and Sachin Pilot just 3 points behind Rahul Gandhi.
And I'll try and give an explanation when you look at the next graphic, Rahul, or the next data point. Is the Congress better off without the Gandhi? So when you've got you've got Manmohan Singh, Rahul Gandhi, Sachin Pilot, Priyanka Gandhi, but when this question is asked, is the Congress better off without the Gandhis? 52% say yes, 35% say no. Now this could include a lot of BJP voters who may be anti-Gandhi family, so please keep that in mind. But either way, for the first time in our recent Mood of the Nation polls, Rahul Gandhi is not top of the Congress charts. And that perhaps reflects the fact that Rahul Gandhi is seen to have, in a way, stepped back. Not party president now for over 18 months. No clarity over whether he really wants to lead the party. And that's perhaps explains why Manmohan Singh, who's been a 2-time Prime Minister, or indeed Sachin Pilot, who's made his ambitions very clear, are also now featuring among Congress leaders who could revive the party. Now, Manmohan Singh is not going to play that role, but is there a possibility of life without the Gandhis?
No, but that
because look at it, if 52% are saying, Rahul, Congress better off without the Gandhis. Now assume that the Congress was to give a face like Sachin, or indeed any visible face as the Congress president, would they attract maybe some of the floating
No, but
voters?
they'll never do it because he's not Gandhi. Now, if you leave, with a lot of respect to Manmohan Singh, leave him on the side, his age and health doesn't permit him to revive the Congress, even if he wanted to. You've got Rahul Gandhi, Sachin Pilot, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra in the mix. You know, you now have for the first time somebody who, without any projection in this poll, is emerging as a possible alternative. And the problem with the Congress, Supriya Srinath, is instead of looking at this data positively, now we'll have 1 million knives out for Sachin Pilot.
No, I completely disagree with that. I think I'm not surprised at all that Dr. Manmohan Singh features there. I'm not surprised at all that Sachin Pilot features there. And I'll tell you why. Because as a party, we respect the statesmanship that Dr. Manmohan Singh has brought. We respect the fact how he steered India through the 10 years of his prime ministership. And I'm not surprised at all his name features there. I'm not surprised at all Sachin Pilot's name features there. I mean, he's young, he's dynamic. Politics, ambition is not a wrong thing. Why not? But where I disagree with you is when you say knives will be out for him or he's not going to make it because he's not a Gandhi. Please remember this, and I've quoted this example before. At the cost of quoting it again, I will. I'm in Maharajganj. When I am here, if I speak to 9 out of 10 Congress people and they believe Rahul Gandhi is their leader and they want him back as the president, can I defy what the average congressman or woman feels just because it's a...
No, but it's not just the 20% who are voting for you. You need 30 plus to be able to compete with the BJP, and unless you can pull in the other voters, and Rahul Gandhi clearly is not being able to pull in the other voters. He's now stuck just with the Congress core support. Narendra Modi was able to expand the scope of the BJP's voter base. Rahul Gandhi, like the BJP before him under Advani, has brought it down just to the core supporters and no more.
So let me answer this without getting rhetorical about it. There is something called the administrative machinery of the party, and then there's something called the soul of the party. The soul of the party rests with Rahul Gandhi, because I believe, and I'm young, I'm ambitious, I believe I'm dynamic. I believe that Rahul Gandhi champions the causes that we as a party, the ideals and values that we stand for. He is the only one who single-handedly, forget the Congress, across the opposition, puts the government in the dock, whether it is unemployment,
so why doesn't he?
crisis,
So why doesn't he take over as
mismanagement? Issue, the Chinese aggression.
But
look at what's happening with national security. He's the only one who's able to put this
no one doubts that Rahul Gandhi
has... deny the role that he played?
But you haven't given anybody else an opportunity. How do you say he's the only one willing to put the government in the docks? Give somebody like a Sachin Pilot the opportunity, then you'll find out whether that's true or not. Without giving him the opportunity, you've decided that Rahul Gandhi is the only one who can get the job done, when he's proving time and again that he's incompetent and incapable of getting the job done.
Look,
and worse of all, he's confused.
No, I'll tell you what the problem is, Rahul. The problem is simply this. Rahul Gandhi, to be fair to him, in the last 1 year has hit upon some of the hot button issues. China, COVID,
on Twitter, not on the ground.
The point is you can hit all the right button issues, but you need to consistently then be seen to be leading from the front. What do I mean leading from the front? You've got to, for example, we discussed this a little earlier, when petrol prices are reaching 100 rupees, as the opposition leader, you've got to be out there.
But you can't be taking a 17-day holiday in the middle of the farmer protest. You go to Italy for a 17-day holiday?
I believe that you cannot have in politics power without responsibility. You've got to be out there as leader, taking responsibility.
No, I want to take it one step further. Why do you think it's okay for him to come back? How often will he get rejected? How often does a politician get rejected? In the UK or in the US, if you're leading the Democrat Party in the US and you lose, somebody else comes in.
Which is why I think the most significant finding is the Congress better off without the Gandhis. When 52% say that, I just wonder, that's a high number out of all the other middling numbers that the Congress has got. If, for example, tomorrow they were to choose someone young, dynamic, charismatic, some of the words that Supriya Srinath used, and you're right, it need not only have to be a Gandhi surname, as the poll suggests. Maybe that person will get the floating voter. What's very clear, Rahul,
unless you give them a chance, how will you ever find out?
You give Rahul Gandhi another chance. I couldn't agree with you more on that. All I am saying, Rahul, is that unless you, whoever it is, has to be consistent. You either take a Padyatra out on price rises or you take a Padyatra out on the state of the economy.
Has to be consistent. You once again,
If you can't be,
he's no
someone else
longer
has to fill it.
he's no longer Supriya Srinath, an unknown commodity. He's and rejected.
Agreed.
17 days he's taken off to Italy. Now, when Rajdeep talks of consistency, look at his past track record to suggest whether there's anything there which suggests going forward he'll be consistent.
Actually, if I may turn around and say something, Rahul Gandhi is the only person who has exposed the government's lies time and again on big issues and issues of national security. Look at what's happening with China. They have changed status quo in Ladakh, Doklam, and
But
now
who else had the opportunity? You don't answer that. Did you give somebody else the opportunity to attack the government?
Rahul Gandhi is the only one who's asking the relevant questions.
That's a very shallow, Supriya Srinath, that's a very shallow way of looking at it. Have you given anybody else the opportunity? Virat Kohli is the only one who's captained India to victory. When he wasn't there, Rahane captained India to victory. Has somebody else had the opportunity? If you give only one man the opportunity.
You're saying Congress needs to look for its Rahane.
I don't think anybody
Congress needs to look for its Rahane is what you're saying.
But you just saw what the New India team did.
No, my
Leaders
point,
emerge, players emerge, captains emerge.
But Rahul and Rajdeep, the person who should lead us is a decision that the Congress party will have to make.
Of course it is.
Of the nation
Of course it is, ma'am. Ma'am, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm only showing what our data. I am saying, ma'am, our data point is saying that a large number. You're right.
But
it is for the Congress party to decide, but our data point is showing 52% of people are showing that the Congress could be revived without the Gandhis, or the Congress would be better off without the Gandhis, is what our poll is showing. I want to also, at the end of the day, suggest that we ask the question, who is best suited among non-Congress, non-BJP leaders to lead the opposition, and this is what our survey said. Arvind Kejriwal is at 18%. Mamta Banerjee, who faces a big election in a couple of months, is 11%. Nitish Kumar is at 10%. Now, we just wonder whether the opposition space is going to open up, whether new leaders will emerge, as we've been saying, whether we'll find Rahanes who, when given the opportunity, prove themselves to be dynamic leaders. Either way, very clearly at the moment, one of the data points of this survey is the opposition needs a face who the people feel can convincingly and credibly challenge Narendra Modi. And that at the moment is not available, it appears. That's very, very clear.
No one is born a leader. You become a leader. If you get an opportunity of the kind that Rahul Gandhi has done and you still can't become a leader, then maybe, move away Virat Kohli, let someone, and maybe Rahane failed, then you'd find somebody else, Rajdeep. That's the power of a democracy. That's where Barack Obama came from. That's where Kejriwal came from. You have to give the opportunity for people to throw up a leader.
We'll wait and see if that happens. Remember, as we said, this has been the mood of the nation. All we want to say is that please see this poll in the perspective of an attempt to provide a snapshot of what people feel. Not people like us, but also people like them. It's not based on what we gossip in television studios or in coffee shops. It's been based on face-to-face interviews of more than 12,000 people. Please question our numbers, but try to avoid questioning our motives.
Don't shoot the messenger. Listen to the message, even if you don't like it. Listen to the message, don't shoot the messenger.
And if you have any comments, you can always send it on social media. Our hashtag is Mood of the Nation. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Supriya and all our guests who've joined us. It's been wonderful to share these findings with you. Stay well, stay safe.